Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Thursday, 3rd October 2024, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Service is at the core of every business's issues, with profitability and the ability to remain relevant. When we return, we will tell you which international venture capitalist alluded to this in Trinidad and Tobago.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. Good customer service is essential to any business. That's the advice from international entrepreneur, author and orator Vusi Thembekwayo. The Edge Leadership Series hosted a groundbreaking masterclass to local business people on Monday. Here's Terry-Ann Brown-Campbell of TTT News out of Trinidad with this report.
What if you and your business could benefit from the advice of the founder of one of the globe's most profitable businesses? Well, scores of local business people gathered at the Hyatt Regency to listen to the Chief Executive Officer of My Growth Fund Venture Partners, a venture capital firm that invests in high-growth startups in Africa. The venture capitalist noted the factors driving uncertainty in today's society are being increasingly compounded, and the universe has become truly a global village.
And everywhere I went, the subject matter and the conversations are identical. We are at different levels of maturity, but the conversations are the same. The conversations are the same. Which tells me that the issues we're dealing with today, truly and honestly as leaders, are actually very similar issues.
Mr. Thembekwayo said in recent weeks he had been to the United Arab Emirates, Malaysia, and Tokyo before heading to Trinidad and Tobago. He had some advice for local business people.
If I were ever opening a business here and competing here, I could destroy 90% of my competitors here by doing one thing and one thing only. And you're not going to like this. But remember, you've given me the permission to offend you. You know what I would do? I'd offer good service.
This CEO explained the way to offer good service, which he described as a culture thing, something that you build and allow into your team, your organization, and your business.
I would insist that all of my employees for 2 days in a month work in a small entrepreneurial business somewhere else on the island. Because if I work at a bank, giving good customer service is recommended, but it isn't deadly. If I run an entrepreneurial business and I offer bad service, I run the potential of destroying my business.
The South African businessman also shared some of the other areas to improve local businesses.
The third conversation we're going to have is around how important it is to foster resilience, right? Especially in the world we're in today, times are going to get tough. How do you show up and how do you ensure that you deliver value? And then lastly is how do we encourage a culture of innovation? I'm going to give you a bonus point on some adaptability too.
The Edge Leadership Series is hosted by a local entrepreneur, Michael Seeley, and sponsored by the Unit Trust Corporation and other local agencies. Terry-Ann Brown-Campbell, TTT News.
CARICOM leaders have thrown their support behind the Antigua and Barbuda agenda for SIDS during their recent presentations at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley and St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves were among those who joined Prime Minister Gaston Brown in calling for global support for the 10-year framework.
In May of this year, we gathered in Antigua and Barbuda for the 4th International Conference on Small Island Developing States. And I call on the international community and the multilateral system to let us work together to ensure that the promise created in Bridgetown in 1994 is delivered and realized through the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for SIDS 2024, otherwise known as ABBAS.
The Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for SIDS, adopted earlier this year, encompass an action-oriented framework for the way forward. The recently adopted Pact for the Future by the United Nations General Assembly provides a wider and promising buttress.
The Bahamas' Prime Minister Philip Davis comments on Cuba during his presentation at the United Nations General Assembly. ZNS News has more.
Well, thanks, Devontae. Now, while his recent address to the United Nations focused primarily on applying added pressure on developed countries to do more to fight the present climate crisis, Prime Minister the Honorable Philip Davis closed out his speech to the UN by supporting the view advanced by his regional colleague, Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. And that's for the sanction against Cuba to be removed. The U.S. imposed embargo has prevented U.S. businesses from conducting trade with Cuban interest since 1958.
It is hurting the people of Cuba. And though it is said that the blockade is against Cuba, it is the people in Cuba who suffers daily. It has not worked. It's been in place now for how many years? Over 70 years. So why should it still remain? And we call upon all of us here present to seek to persuade those who have the blockade to remove it and move it as soon as possible.
After several years of activism, diplomatic discussions and lobbying spearheaded by small island developing states, inclusive of the Caribbean Community and the Alliance of Small Island States, St. Kitts and Nevis' Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew commended the adoption of the Multidimensional Vulnerability Index, or MVI. Glenn Bart of SKN Newsline reports.
Prime Minister Drew was commenting on this achievement when he addressed the General Assembly at the United Nations on 27 September 2024. He described the adoption as one that would lead to equity and inclusion and called for institutional activation to enable meaningful access to developmental financing for small island developing states like those of the Caribbean community.
This serves as a powerful testament to the potential of multilateralism when it is both purposeful and effective. St. Kitts and Nevis stands with the Caribbean community and the Alliance of Small Island States in welcoming Resolution 78/322, while urging this esteemed body to rally the necessary political will and resources to drive its implementation across international financial institutions and multilateral development banks. For us small island developing states, the MVI is not just another metric. It is a lifeline, offering a means to cushion the relentless blows of climatic and economic crises that disproportionately affect us. Its full implementation will demonstrate to the world that the United Nations, and by extension, the global system, remains committed to uplifting those most vulnerable. It will restore trust in a system that must not only recognize vulnerability, but actively work to address it.
Currently, international financial institutions use gross domestic product and per capita income to judge if a country is eligible for concessionary financing to meet their developmental needs. However, leaders of small island developing states have for many years argued that the standards were misleading and have been detrimental to progress in such small countries. Glenn Bart reporting for SK Newsline.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
The new minimum wage in St. Lucia was implemented on Tuesday, October 1st. In an address to the nation on Monday night, Prime Minister Philip J. Pear noted that there was no formal objection from the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture regarding the minimum wage. In addition, Pear says that the St. Lucia Hospitality and Tourism Association found favor with the final recommendations of the Minimum and Equal Wages Commission. Miriam Montour of the DBS News World provides details.
On Monday evening, Prime Minister Philip J. Pear addressed the nation on the implementation of a minimum livable wage, which took effect on Tuesday, October 1st, 2024. The new minimum wage is set at $1,131 monthly, or $6.50 an hour. Pierre says that this does not include payment of overtime, a share of service charge, a commission, bonus, or profit sharing.
The Commission set about its work under the chairmanship of Mr. Lawrence Poyot and engaged in a broad level of consultation with several stakeholders. The Commission's work was guided by the adoption of methodologies recommended by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, and the International Labour Organization. In making its final recommendations to the Minister, many key factors were considered.
These include the general level of wages in St. Lucia, the cost of living, the NIC contributions and benefits, the levels of productivity and the impact on employment levels, the impact on attracting foreign investments, and the protection of workers.
I am pleased to learn that there was no formal objection from the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, and the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association found favor with the final recommendations of the Commission. This augurs well for the building of our nation, when employers are sufficiently socially conscious to stand in solidarity with workers at the lower income levels of the workforce.
Prime Minister Pear implored employers to strengthen their solidarity by resisting any efforts to reduce levels of staffing where adjustments are needed to bring wages in line with the new minimum wage. He warns that what may appear to be cost savings at the level of individual businesses may turn out to be more costly at the national level, resulting in false savings.
I call on employees, especially those who are the subject of these changes, to give their best in the exercise of their work duties. As a country, we need to improve our level of productivity if we are to remain competitive in the world. It is the sure and sustainable way of growing the St. Lucian economy in the long run. Improvements in productivity is a positive sum game. Employees, employers, and the country all benefit. I therefore implore all workers, together with their employers, to do more to improve the level of productivity in their respective businesses.
He thanked the private sector in general for their understanding and participation in the process. For the DBS News World, Miriam Montour reports.
The United Nations extends Haiti security mission mandate for another year. The United States had pushed for the mandate to change to a UN peacekeeping mission, but was countered by China and Russia. More in this Africa News item.
A renewed mandate for the police mission in Haiti. The Kenya-led force will now stay in the Caribbean country until October 2nd, 2025. The Haitian government and Washington had pushed for the mandate to change to a UN peacekeeping mission. It is clear that the mission in its current form still faces serious limitations. The financial and material support that the mission greatly needs remains insufficient. Moreover, there is no doubt that the mission must be strengthened to be fully operational, and in this context, the transformation of the mission into a United Nations peacekeeping operation appears not only necessary, but urgent. Only about 400 officers have deployed out of over 3,000.
With the renewed mandate, the mission is poised to create the conditions for the Haitian authorities to secure the country and undertake social and economic reconstruction. But for this to happen, the MSS must rapidly achieve its envisaged full deployment of 2,500 personnel, up from the current 410 officers.
Russia and China opposed a suggestion to change the force's mandate.
While we work to bolster the Haiti MSF's mission now, We also must heed the clear calls from the Haitian government to ensure long-term sustainability of this effort. As President LeBlanc called for before the General Assembly, transitioning the MSS into a UN peacekeeping operation will further enhance stability by providing more reliable funding and expanding its capabilities.
Many Haitians remain wary of UN interventions, saying past deployments have brought more harm than good.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.